Hello, my name is Michael Stogstow, and I'm going to be your guys' instructor for Chem 118 this summer. In a moment, I'm going to show you guys my screen and kind of take you through a little tour of Canvas and how the course is laid out on there. But first, I want to give you guys kind of a general overview of the course and how it's going to work. This course is set up as an accelerated online asynchronous course. So that means that we only have 8 weeks to get through our material. So things are going to be moving pretty fast. And we're not going to have any scheduled meeting times where we're all going to get together. And so for some of you guys, this might be exactly what you're looking for, right? You want to get the course over really quickly and you are comfortable working independently and not needing a whole lot of assistance. And for some of you guys, you might have some anxiety over this, kind of especially feeling like you're out there all by yourself. But I do want to encourage you guys that you can always reach out to me. I can answer quick messages really quickly through text messaging, or my preferred thing is email. And I, in particular, would like it if you guys would email me directly from your Mott Gmail to my Mott Gmail, which is michael.stogstill@mcc.edu. This is really helpful to me because when we use Canvas Inbox instead, it kind of messes up a lot of the things I want to send back and forth. So I might want to respond with something that looks like an equation or something like that, and it kind of gets mangled in Inbox and it gets a little frustrating. So I just want to make sure that you guys are seeing exactly what I intend for you to see. If you have a little bit more in-depth question, we can always schedule a Zoom meeting. I block out quite a bit of time throughout the week to meet with the students. And I know even that can kind of give you a little sense of anxiety. This is actually the only video you're ever going to see where the camera's pointing directly at me, because I get kind of nervous about it. I don't really like it either. But I know that we can work together and get through that. And I have a lot of different ways that we can kind of go over the material together. So I have a lot of things that I can show you on my screen. And I also have a little document camera where I can actually write things out and you can see. So they tend to be really productive meetings, and especially when you ask early on, if you're getting a little confused after you've done the reading, maybe tried a couple of problems, then we can kind of head things off and make sure that you stay on track throughout the course. So let's jump into it, and I will show you guys how to navigate the course on Canvas. So starting from a fresh, clean desktop on a computer with a reliable internet connection, our first choice that we're going to have is going to be which web browser we want to use. Canvas recommends using either Firefox or Google Chrome. I prefer Firefox, so let's start there. The first thing we're going to want to do is navigate to MCC's homepage. And the thing that you're going to be looking for is this guy right here, MCC for me. So if we click there, it takes us to this screen here. And it's not entirely obvious, but you actually haven't logged into this yet. It's not showing you your stuff yet. In order to do that, you're going to have to go to this login button right here. And that's going to take us to this little splashed dialog box where we're going to have to input our credentials. If you don't know your credentials, you're going to need to contact IT in order to get your login and password. One thing I will note is that your username is going to be the beginning of your Mott email without the dot, or without the domain, so without the @mcc.edu. If you put it in there, it'll tell you no, so that's a little frustrating. Once you put those credentials in, you actually get this thing here, which is a secondary thing that they have. It's through a company called Duo Mobile, and you can get a app on your phone in order to be able to do this, or you can buy one of their little key fobs that'll let you enter a passcode. I'm going to send out some additional information on this, but again, this is something that you'll have to set up through Mods IT. So I do the push, so I'm going to send myself a push on my cell phone here and then approve it, and now I get to see all of my details here. And there's a lot of stuff here that's pretty cool. In particular, this VDI. I'm gonna post a video about how to get into that. That allows you to access like a virtual desktop that's gonna have all the stuff that you would see at Mott Community College. So like if you wanted to use Word or Excel and you didn't have it on your computer, you could use that. But the thing that we want to do is navigate here to Canvas. So let's click that. And now that you're here, what I would recommend for you to do is to come up to here and bookmark this page, because then you can just kind of have it maybe up here or something like that, and you can click on it, get to it really quickly, and then you'll be able to get to it really quickly, and you'll have to still do that login and stuff, but you don't have to go through that whole series of steps I just showed you. You'll just drop right in on here. The next thing is that you're going to see all your different courses here. I obviously have different courses than you, but the one that you're going to be looking for is this Chem 118 WWW02 for the summer of 2022. And it's going to look a little different than this once I get it all posted and up there and published. But for right now, this is what we got. So let's click on it. So once you guys are inside of your Canvas shell, you're going to see something that looks like this. And you're going to find all these little drop down guys here that they call modules. And this is where all of our material is going to reside, is inside of these little modules. The first one here is nothing that you actually have to do, but just a whole bunch of resources for you. So it starts off with a little page about me, a little assignment that isn't going to be graded, but I'd like to see you guys do, where you're going to update your Canvas profile. So it helps so you can see like a little picture and everything if you guys want. And then the next thing here is pretty key, is going to be what is going to be our textbook. And it's got this PDF right here. If we click on that, you can find that you can read the entire PDF on here. But that's actually not that useful for what we're going to do. And you can see that a lot of browsers don't really like it. So you might get this warning sign. Don't worry about that. The real reason this is here is so that you can download the PDF if you want to, so that you can read it when you don't have the internet connection. I personally prefer to read the textbook that way. I download the PDF and then I open it up on my phone. Kindle, you could use that to read the PDF. I use a program called Read Era, and I just find it more convenient to kind of scroll through it on my phone or a tablet than to read it on the computer. And it's nice to have it when you don't have the internet, if you're on the go. The next thing has to do with Canvas, and there's a whole bunch of links here, and it's just a bunch of little information about how to use Canvas, what's the best way to get support from them, little videos and stuff to kind of get you started with it. So if you haven't used Canvas before, these are good resources for you. And the next one has to do with MOTS resources. So we have the student support services, we have the online learning resources specifically, and then this video that I made about accessing the VDI, which stands for Virtual Desktop Infrastructure. And again, this is going to allow you, like say if you have a good internet connection, but maybe not a great computer, maybe you're using a Chromebook or something, you have trouble getting Excel or Word or something on there, you can use this service in order to access that, and you'll basically have a desktop inside of your browser that's going to look just like one that you would access on the main campus. So it's not particularly important for this class, but it's going to be useful to you in your classes moving forward. So I would check that out if I were you. After that, you can see that we have one module for basically every chapter that we're going to cover. So we're going to be covering the first 8 chapters of the textbook. It starts off with one called the chemical world. So let's click on that. And the first thing you're going to see is this start here guy. And if you click on there, what I'm going to have is I'm going to have videos. There may be more than one video of me going through like a PowerPoint presentation where I'm covering all the material for you. This is kind of like the lecture you would be getting in an actual physical classroom. Feel free to go through it as you please at your own pace. Some of them are kind of longish. I try and break them up a little bit by topic, but you might want to pause them, give yourself a little break, and go back and review things that didn't seem particularly clear. The next thing is going to be our reading, and it's really important in an online class that you continue to do the actual reading and not just rely on the videos. I really can't cover everything that you're going to need to know in there. And basically these are the various sections. So if you are on the internet, you can click on one of these and then read that section of the textbook in this little page here. You'll notice that at the end there are these exercises here. These are not assigned, and you don't necessarily have to do them, but they are going to look a lot like our actual quiz problems. So might be worth it to you after you've done the reading to come in here, take a look at them, make sure that you can answer these kind of questions, and get kind of a sense for this. The next thing you're going to find is going to be our actual assignment for that week. So this is the chapter 1 quiz here. And when you click on it, you're going to see some information about the quiz. Okay, so we're going to see what the due date is. They're always going to be due on Saturdays, and that's really to give you the maximum amount of time to get them done throughout the week. I highly, highly recommend that you do not wait until Saturday to attempt and the quiz, especially because you're allowed 2 attempts. It would be very useful to you to at least do one solid attempt after you've done the reading and stuff, and kind of break it up throughout the week in order to not really get too overwhelmed. You can see how many points that quiz is worth. The quizzes are not worth the same amount of points as we go on. Some weeks are going to cover more material than others. I've kind of tried to balance them a little bit, but this first week in particular is not worth a ton of points because I want you guys to get a little opportunity to get acclimated. You can see how many questions it's going to be, and you can see when it's going to be available from. So this one is going to be available starting June 27th, and it's going to run all the way to the end of the term. So that means that you will be able to do it. There's nothing that's going to physically stop you from doing it late. However, it will be marked late, and I will not necessarily give you any points for it. We're going to go over that policy when we talk about the syllabus here in a little while, but there is nothing actually keeping you from doing it late. You can see that there's no time limit on the quiz, so you can take a look at it and go through it at your leisure. And key here, you're going to be allowed 2 attempts, and you're going to receive the higher grade of the 2 attempts that you have at it. And this quiz is actually locked, obviously, until then. But if it wasn't, you'd be able to see a little button here where you'd click and it would say, hey, you can start this quiz now. On the right hand side here, you're going to see this list of to-do things, and it's got the various dates when each one of your quizzes is going to be due. And you can kind of X those out as you've moved through them. In the same way, you can come up here to this button that says View Course Calendar. And if you come into there, you can see that our first quiz is going to be due on the 2nd. And then in July, all the way down, we're going to be having quizzes into August. And then we're going to have a final exam, which is not on a Saturday. Okay, the term actually ends on this date. This is the last date that I can give you the final exam. It's going to open a week ahead of time. I believe it actually opened on the 12th. So in that last week, you're going to need to do the Chapter 7 quiz, and then you're going to have to be able to finish the exam by Thursday. So it's going to be a little bit heavy here at the end, but you have plenty of time to plan ahead for that. To get back, so you notice that it highlighted this calendar right here. To get back to the course, you can actually click here and then go back to the course there. And it's just going to pretty much go on and on like that. For every week, you're going to have that same sort of structure to it. Some weeks I may have additional little things here for you. Maybe I'll upload like a periodic table or something like that for you to download. But the basic structure is always going to be there. You will note that I do not have anything for Chapter 4 or on yet. I will be posting those as I continue to develop the course. I don't have my start here yet. As I continue to develop the course, I will have those up fairly quickly. And then again, in the last week here, we have our final exam as opposed to a regular quiz. So let's come up here and take a look at these guys real quick before we wrap this up. If we click on the syllabus, for anybody who's not familiar with what a syllabus is, this is really the contract between you and I. Okay, this is where we're spelling out what it is you're going to do and what it is that I'm expected to do during the course. So it's always important to review the syllabus of your courses really carefully. And ask any questions that maybe aren't laid out in the whole thing. So it starts off with the instructor. It has my name here. It has my email address, and it has this telephone number. This is not my actual telephone number. It's like one of those internet telephone numbers. But if you call it, I will answer, and you can also text message it, and I will answer. But again, my preferred means of communication is going to be email. If we ever have office hours, like a Zoom meeting or something like that, this is going to be the link that we're going to use. It will always be the same. So, if I forgot to send you a link when we scheduled a meeting or something, you can always come here and you can always just use that link there. These are the important dates that you should review for this term. It gives you information about like when the midterm is going to be there, when the last day you can drop are, and when your final grades will be up, when the last day of class is. So that's important information for you to be aware of. We have the required materials. I try to put as few requirements as possible. But there is the suggestion here that you get a non-programmable scientific calculator. I think that is useful. But then again, this is an online course and you could download any kind of program off of the internet in order to do the same sort of thing as this scientific calculator. I really don't like the built-in one in like Windows and stuff, but there's a lot of great options out there if you want to go that way. Still, I think physically having the calculator and working through it is useful. I think it's a little quicker once you get used to it. And I think it'll be helpful to kind of practice those skills before you take an in-person class where you're not going to have access to your computer necessarily. We have the course description. So this is designed for students who need a review, an introduction to, or additional experience in the basic mathematical and chemical concepts and skills necessary for satisfactory academic work in Chem 131. So Chem 131 would be like Gen Chem 1 that you would want to take if you, say, want to transfer the course out for a Gen Chem 1 class at a four-year university or something like that. So this is going to be an introductory course. If you registered for the class, you should have already met the prerequisites. We have our learning outcomes. So we're going to get comfortable with chemical concepts and mathematical operations. We're going to emphasize on the chemistry topics that are a little troublesome to the first year students. And we're going to provide some necessary foundations for further science classes. Our course content is just basically the first 8 chapters there. We've already gone over the textbook a little bit, but there's a little blurb here about it and a link that you can use here to go to their actual website if you want to learn a little bit more about LibreText. LibreText is the overarching thing. And LibreChem is the specific chemistry branch of LibreText. And I think they're doing some really good work. I really like that. So worth checking out. I'm going to base your guys' attendance on whether or not you've completed the assignments for that week. So it is important that you keep up with the assignments. Otherwise, you're basically going to be marked absent. And that can affect your financial aid and stuff. So we don't want that. Quizzes, we've gone over that. So most weeks we're going to have a quiz. So it's basically every week except for the last week we're going to have when we're going to have an exam. So every week we have an assignment. Again, I highly recommend that you move through it throughout the week. You're going to have 2 attempts. There's going to be no time limit. Your grade will be the highest of the 2 attempts. I'm going to drop the quiz with the overall grade, with the lowest overall grade at the end of the term. Okay, so if you have a bad quiz, that's okay. It's going to get dropped. And I do not like to extend deadlines for quizzes, especially in an accelerated class. I think that's understandable given that we have to move through this really quickly. And also the answers to the quizzes are going to become available after the due date. So what's going to happen is I can't really give you the same assignment. You're going to have to get an alternate assignment. And I really don't like to do that unless I have been consulted ahead of time and told that you're not going to be able to complete the quiz. I do understand that things happen at the last minute, but if you're asking me to kind of give you some extension without any kind of pre-notice or anything, it is reasonable for me to ask for some sort of verification that something's happened that's made it so that you really can't complete the quiz. Our exam, final exam, obviously I'm giving you all the way out to the last day of class, so there's really no room to be late with that. We really have to do some extreme stuff to be able to still make that deadline of the 22nd when I have to have the final grades due in order to, if you did miss that deadline. So I only grant extensions in the case of a very severe emergency. And I really would need you to contact me prior to the exam so that we can make a plan for that. It's going to be open from August 12th at 12 a.m. till August 18th at 11:59 p.m. So you'll have a full week to do it. The grades are going to be based on the quizzes in the final exam. 75% of it's going to be your quizzes. 25% of it will be the final exam. And this is going to be how I'm going to translate your percentage grade over to your GPA. You can see 90 to 100% is a 4.0, and that's the most generous scale that I've actually ever given. So you guys will have a little bit of a benefit there. There's a lot of room for you guys to do really well in this class. Mott has some tutoring information, tutoring services available, and you can learn about that on their tutoring website by following this link. Plagiarism is unacceptable, and I'm probably going to pick up on it, so please don't do that. The rest of this is just basic stuff you're going to see in any syllabus from Mott Community College. It's important information. So if you haven't taken a class here, I suggest that you read through this. There is the new policies regarding the reopening at Mott Community College, so you should read through there and check out their website. If you plan on coming to campus, obviously this class is online, so it doesn't really apply. Basically, you still have to wear a mask inside of the classrooms and the labs, but not in the other areas of the college. Some information about school closing. You can get some text messages and stuff. And then the thing about being civil and stuff, and that does extend to our online classes. I wouldn't want to see any kind of abusive language passing back and forth and stuff. We don't really have any, I didn't require any discussions for this class. I may add a discussion thing here just so that you guys can kind of talk to each other. That's helpful at times. But still, I wouldn't tolerate anything like that. And then finally, we have our course summary. And you can go through here and you can see the various due dates for the various assignments that we have. Obviously, this one doesn't have a due date because it's not graded. But there's a nice little summary right here. And you can always come here and then click on these to take you to those assignments. Looking at the grades up here, it's going to be laid out basically like this. It's pretty straightforward. Each quiz, you get the score. You can see how many points that one was, and then you can see what the totals are going to be down here. Your quiz totals, your final exam totals, and then it still says this imported assignments here, but I'm probably going to get rid of that. There's no actually imported assignments. And then you can click here and see your fellow classmates. You're interested in doing that. This link right here for Office 365, you can actually get that for free by navigating to the Microsoft Office 365 web page. It's failing me because I'm logged in as a regular student here, a fakey student. And registering with them with your Mott email, you can get Office 365 for free, or you can use the Mott VDI. If I have time, I will post a video about how to do that. And finally, we have the library resources, which aren't going to be particularly important for this class, but it's nice to be able to look through here and see the various resources that the Mott library has for you. And that's pretty much it. I think we've covered most of the important things. Again, if you guys have any questions starting out, you can go ahead and contact me. I did forget to mention though that my announcements are going to appear up here, including this introductory video. You'll see that as my first announcement up there. All right.